Some stories of betrayal are calculated, some are messy, but mine was a perfect storm of manipulation, hubris, and karma that would unravel everything my wife thought she knew. The morning I discovered my wife Elena's affair, I was still the CEO of Meridian Technologies, a man who prided himself on knowing every detail of his company, every employee's file, every subtle movement within the corporate ecosystem. What Elena didn't realize was that her lover, the man she thought would be her escape, was nothing more than a junior graphic designer in my own marketing department. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. My name is Marcus Reyes, and this is the story of how I watched my wife's carefully constructed life crumble piece by carefully orchestrated piece. The Reyes household had always been a model of corporate success and suburban perfection. Our home in the affluent Oak Ridge neighborhood of Seattle was a testament to years of calculated ambition. Elena, a former runway model turned real estate broker, had meticulously designed every inch of our 5,000-square-foot contemporary masterpiece. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the cascading hills, each piece of furniture strategically placed to create an image of effortless sophistication. We'd been married for 11 years, together since Elena was 24 and I was 35. A power couple who understood the art of presentation. I'd built Meridian Technologies from a small design firm into a multi-million-dollar digital marketing powerhouse. Elena had her own successful real estate practice, specializing in luxury properties. We were the kind of couple other couples looked at and whispered about, not with envy, but with a mixture of admiration and careful calculation. Our routine was precise. Weekday mornings began at 5:30 a.m. I'd be in the home gym. Elena would prepare a precision-crafted breakfast. Egg white frittatas, cold-pressed juices, perfectly brewed single-origin coffee. By 7:15 we'd be dressed, immaculate, ready to conquer our respective professional worlds. What Elena didn't realize was that I'd spent years building a network of information. In the corporate world, knowledge isn't just power, it's survival. My HR department was an extension of my own observational skills. Every employee file, every performance review, every subtle shift in workplace dynamics passed through my understanding. Jake Holloway was just another name in those files when he first joined Meridian's marketing team 2 years ago. 28 years old, design degree from UCLA, portfolio that was impressive but not extraordinary. The kind of employee who was competent but forgettable, precisely the type that often went unnoticed in a corporate ecosystem. I first noticed something was different with Elena about 6 months ago. The subtle changes were almost imperceptible to anyone who didn't know her as intimately as I did. Her phone became a constant companion, always tilted away when messages came through. Her evening networking events became more frequent. The passionate woman who once discussed real estate deals with fire in her eyes now seemed distracted, her conversations shorter, her enthusiasm manufactured. But I waited. I watched. In the corporate world and in marriage, premature action is often more destructive than strategic patience. The art of corporate strategy isn't just about numbers, it's about understanding human nature. People, especially those engaged in deception, follow predictable patterns. Jake Holloway was no different. His affair with Elena wasn't just a moment of passion, it was a carefully constructed narrative he'd been developing for months. I knew this because I'd spent weeks meticulously gathering evidence, tracking not just their interactions, but the entire psychological landscape of their relationship. Jake had a specific profile that Elena found irresistible. Younger, creative, seemingly passionate about life. Everything my structured, strategic existence was not. At 28, he represented the spontaneity she claimed to have lost. His design portfolio was filled with vibrant graphics that spoke of dreams and possibilities, a stark contrast to the clinical precision of my corporate world. Their first interactions were subtle: company team-building events, casual conversations near the coffee machine, strategic positioning that made their growing connection seem accidental. Elena would later claim it was a connection that happened organically, but I saw the calculated dance for what it was. I remembered the exact moment I first noticed something was different. It was during our annual company retreat in Whistler. Jake had been presenting a new branding concept, and Elena, who typically never attended these events, had surprisingly joined me that year. Her eyes never left him during the presentation, not in a professional manner, but with a hunger that spoke volumes. The corporate world teaches you to read between the lines, to understand the unspoken narratives. Jake wasn't just pursuing an affair, he was carefully constructing a potential life trajectory. His performance reviews showed ambition beyond his current role. Ambitious men don't just have affairs, they see them as strategic opportunities. I began to collect my evidence with the same methodical approach I used in business negotiations. Phone records, expense reports, subtle discrepancies in their work communications. Each piece was a thread in a larger tapestry of betrayal. What Elena didn't understand was that in my world, information is currency, and I was about to make a very significant withdrawal. Resistance in high-stakes personal and professional landscapes is never straightforward. Elena's response to the growing tension was a masterclass in psychological deflection. Her initial strategy was multi-layered. She increased her professional visibility, taking on more high-profile real estate projects. Charity committees, networking events, social media posts, each became a carefully curated narrative of success and stability. I observed her performance with clinical detachment. Every meticulously arranged charity gala appearance, every perfectly angled Instagram photo was another layer of her defensive mechanism. She was fighting to maintain the illusion of our perfect life, even as its foundations crumbled beneath her. Our home transformed into a silent battlefield of unspoken tensions. Breakfast conversations became increasingly perfunctory. She would carefully arrange her designer coffee mug, adjust her Hermes scarf, delivering precisely measured small talk, each word a carefully constructed barrier preventing genuine communication. Jake's professional performance became equally calculated. At Meridian Technologies, he was the model employee, arriving before anyone, staying late, producing exceptional design work. His performance reviews were impeccable, adding another layer of complexity to our developing drama. I recalled a specific company dinner where Jake had impressed the entire executive team with an innovative marketing presentation. Elena had been present as my plus one, her eyes sparkling with an excitement I hadn't seen in years. Not for me, but for him. Her resistance wasn't just about hiding the affair, it was about maintaining a carefully constructed identity. Elena had built her entire persona around being the perfect corporate wife, sophisticated, successful, seemingly content. The affair became both an escape and a rebellion against the very life she had meticulously crafted. Our social circle was a tightly woven network of corporate executives, real estate professionals, and social climbers. Each gathering was a performance, a delicate dance of subtle innuendos and carefully managed appearances. Elena was particularly adept at this game, discussing charity events, real estate developments, and corporate mergers, with a charm that masked the growing emptiness in our relationship. The irony wasn't lost on me. In the corporate world, I was known for seeing through complex negotiations, understanding underlying motivations. Yet my wife had been conducting an entire affair right under my nose. Jake's strategic approach was equally fascinating. He wasn't just a random lover, he was systematically positioning himself. His design work became increasingly critical to our company's key accounts. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time. So if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. He volunteered for additional projects, worked weekends, became indispensable. Her resistance reached its peak during a company fundraiser. Elena arrived wearing a stunning designer gown, her presence commanding attention. Jake was there too, part of the design team responsible for the event's visual branding. Their interactions were subtle, a brief touch, a lingering glance, moments so quick they would be imperceptible to anyone not actively looking. But I was looking, every single moment. What Elena didn't realize was that her resistance was actually creating the perfect conditions for my ultimate plan. Each lie, each carefully constructed moment was another brick in the wall I was preparing to demolish. The moment of true commitment is rarely dramatic. It's calculated, precise, like a surgeon making the first incision. My commitment to exposing the affair was born from a strategic understanding that some infections must be surgically removed to preserve the larger organism. In this case, the organism was my company, my reputation, and the life I had meticulously constructed over decades. Jake Holloway represented more than just a temporary threat. He was a systemic risk to my marriage, to my company's integrity, and to the carefully balanced ecosystem I had created. I began my systematic approach with the same methodical precision I used in corporate acquisitions. Information gathering became my primary strategy. Each piece of evidence was carefully documented, time-stamped, verified. Corporate email logs, expense reports, location tracking, nothing was left to chance. The company's internal communication system became my primary surveillance tool. Jake's digital footprint was extensive, seemingly innocent emails, design collaboration threads, subtle communications that would appear innocuous to anyone not looking closely. I discovered that their affair wasn't just a passionate indiscretion, it was a carefully planned potential life transition. Jake had been updating his professional profiles, subtly networking, positioning himself for a potential career move. Elena had been making discreet inquiries about real estate markets in neighboring cities, potential escape routes. My team of HR professionals and internal investigators became my silent allies. Performance reviews, communication logs, project assignments, each document told a story far more complex than a simple workplace affair. A routine quarterly review became the turning point. Jake's design portfolio had become increasingly ambitious. New project proposals, innovative marketing concepts, each one subtly showcasing his desire to prove his value beyond a junior designer's role. Elena's influence was everywhere. Subtle suggestions, strategic client introductions. My commitment to exposure was more than personal revenge. It was about preserving the integrity of everything I had built. Meridian Technologies was more than just a company. It was a reflection of my life's work, my legacy. The corporate world operates on trust, trust between employees, between management and staff, between the company and its clients. Jake and Elena had violated that fundamental principle. Their affair wasn't just a personal indiscretion, it was a breach of professional ethics that could potentially destroy everything. I began to strategically position my pieces. Internal investigations were launched, not overtly, but with the subtlety of a chess grandmaster. Jake's expense reports were scrutinized. His design project allocations were reviewed. Elena's real estate transactions came under quiet examination. What they didn't understand was that I was several moves ahead. Every text message, every stolen moment, every whispered promise was about to become evidence in a much larger case. Timing is the most critical element in any complex strategy. Precision matters more than passion, more than emotion. And in my world, precision was an art form I had mastered. Jake Holloway's professional downfall would be a masterpiece of corporate engineering, a symphony of calculated moves designed to dismantle everything he thought he was building. His affair with Elena was merely the first thread I would pull to unravel his entire carefully constructed life. The challenge began with a seemingly innocuous company project. Meridian Technologies was preparing to pitch a massive digital marketing campaign for a Fortune 500 tech company, a contract worth millions. Jake had been part of the core design team, his creative concepts positioned as the cornerstone of our proposal. What Jake didn't know was that I had been monitoring his work with microscopic precision. Each design, each creative concept was a potential vulnerability. Corporate examination isn't about dramatic hacking, it's about understanding the subtle weaknesses in a person's professional armor. I discovered the first significant crack during a routine review of his project files. Buried deep within his design archives were several concepts that looked suspiciously familiar. Comparative analysis revealed they were almost identical to award-winning campaigns from other design firms, campaigns that predated Jake's work by several months. Plagiarism in the creative world is a cardinal sin. More than that, it was a breach of the fundamental trust that underpins professional relationships. Elena's involvement added another layer of complexity. Her real estate connections had been subtly promoting Jake's work, creating a network of professional validation that masked the underlying ethical violations. She wasn't just his lover, she had become his silent professional enabler. The night I discovered the full extent of Jake's professional misconduct, I remembered a conversation from years ago. My father, a seasoned corporate lawyer, had always taught me that true power isn't about immediate destruction. It's about strategic dismantling, removing every support structure until the entire edifice collapses under its own weight. I began to construct my strategy with surgical precision. Internal investigations were launched quietly. Jake's entire professional history became a subject of microscopic examination. His educational credentials, previous employment records, portfolio submissions, nothing was left unexamined. The challenge wasn't just about exposing an affair, it was about systematically destroying the professional facade Jake had so carefully constructed. Each design submission became a potential landmine, each client recommendation a potential point of vulnerability. Elena's role was equally fascinating. Her real estate network had become an inadvertent support system for Jake's professional ambitions. Introductions to potential clients, subtle recommendations, strategic positioning. She had transformed from a passive participant to an active enabler of his professional growth. My team of investigators began to uncover a pattern. Jake's design portfolio wasn't just occasionally derivative, it was systematically built on stolen intellectual property. Client presentations, marketing concepts, even basic design templates. Each piece was a potential legal minefield. The first major challenge was psychological warfare. I would not just expose their affair, I would systematically destroy every professional and personal construct they had built. Jake thought he was building a future. He was actually constructing his own professional tombstone. Corporate warfare is never about immediate victory. It's about creating a narrative so devastating, so comprehensive, that recovery becomes impossible. And I was about to become the architect of their complete professional and personal destruction. The day of reckoning arrives not with thunder, but with the precision of a well-orchestrated corporate presentation. I scheduled the confrontation for a Monday morning, the time when corporate facades are most brittle, when the week's potential hangs in the balance like a delicate piece of blown glass. Meridian Technologies' executive conference room would become the stage for a drama that would destroy multiple lives. The invitation was deliberate, an emergency executive meeting, mandatory for all senior design team members. Jake would have no choice but to attend. Elena would be blissfully unaware of the trap being set. The morning began with surgical precision. HR had prepared a comprehensive dossier, every email, every expense report, every suspicious communication carefully documented. Jake's professional misconduct wasn't just an affair, it was a systematic pattern of intellectual theft and corporate manipulation. As the conference room filled, I could see Jake's growing unease. He moved with the nervous energy of a man who knows something is wrong but cannot identify the source of the threat. Elena wasn't present. Her absence would make the confrontation even more devastating. I began the meeting like any other corporate review. Quarterly performance reports, design team achievements, potential new contracts. Jake sat near the front, his designer suit now feeling like a costume rather than a professional uniform. The first blow came subtly. Our lead legal counsel began presenting a series of comparative design analyses, side-by-side comparisons of Jake's recent work with award-winning campaigns from other firms. The room grew quiet, the tension becoming palpable. "Mr. Holloway," I said, my voice calm and measured, "would you care to explain these similarities?" The color drained from Jake's face. In the corporate world, accusations of plagiarism are professional death. Careers are destroyed with less evidence than what was now projected on the large screen behind him. Our HR director stepped forward, presenting a comprehensive report of Jake's professional misconduct. Expense reports showing unauthorized client meetings, communications that violated company policy, strategic positioning that suggested a pattern of calculated manipulation. I watched Jake's carefully constructed professional persona begin to crumble. Each piece of evidence was a precisely aimed dart designed to puncture the illusion of his professional competence. The affair became a secondary consideration to his professional betrayal: corporate espionage, intellectual property theft, violation of multiple company policies. Jake was facing more than just professional embarrassment. He was facing potential legal action. Elena's involvement became clear through a series of communications that suggested she had been more than just a passive participant. Her real estate connections, her strategic positioning of Jake within our corporate ecosystem. She had become an active enabler of his professional misconduct. The room was silent, save for the sound of documents being presented, of digital evidence being displayed. Jake's colleagues, people he had worked alongside, shared coffee breaks with, collaborated with on projects, now watched with a mixture of shock and professional disgust. "Do you have anything to say?" I asked, my voice cutting through the tension like a scalpel. Jake's attempt to speak was interrupted by our legal counsel's detailed breakdown of potential legal actions. Intellectual property violations, breach of corporate ethics, misuse of company resources. The list was comprehensive and devastating. As the meeting concluded, Jake was escorted out by security. His access to company systems was terminated, his professional credentials stripped away in a matter of moments. Years of careful positioning destroyed in less than an hour. Elena would receive a call shortly. Her professional network would be systematically informed of Jake's misconduct. The real estate community is small, and reputation is everything. The true art of corporate warfare isn't just about winning. It's about leaving no possibility of recovery. Jake Holloway's professional destruction was a meticulously planned campaign that would extend far beyond the walls of Meridian Technologies. I understood something fundamental about professional ecosystems. Reputations are fragile, and once shattered, they become nearly impossible to reconstruct. Within hours of the confrontation, a carefully orchestrated communication strategy began to unfold. Our legal team prepared comprehensive documentation detailing Jake's professional misconduct. Each email, each design submission became a potential nail in his professional coffin. The design and tech communities are surprisingly interconnected, a fact I would use to maximum effect. Jake's professional network would become the primary vector of his comprehensive collapse. I began with strategic communications to key industry contacts. Confidential emails were sent to design firms, marketing agencies, and professional networks, each one a precise document outlining Jake's intellectual property violations and unprofessional conduct. Our legal team's involvement ensured that every communication was legally bulletproof. Jake wouldn't just be fired, he would be systematically rendered professionally untouchable. The first domino fell within 24 hours. Jake's design portfolio, once a point of pride, became radioactive. Freelance platforms began removing his profile. Professional networking sites started flagging his account. Design competitions he had previously won began reviewing his submissions for potential intellectual property violations. I remembered a conversation with a mentor who once told me, "Reputation is a currency more valuable than money. Once spent, it's almost impossible to regenerate." Elena's professional destruction followed a similar trajectory. Her real estate firm began an internal investigation. Client relationships she had cultivated for years started to disintegrate. The carefully constructed image of a successful real estate broker was systematically dismantled. The legal consequences began to compound. Jake faced potential civil lawsuits for intellectual property theft. Elena's real estate firm began comprehensive legal reviews of her professional conduct. Every communication, every transaction became potential evidence in what would become a comprehensive legal dismantling. Design communities began creating comprehensive threads documenting Jake's systematic professional misconduct. Online forums, professional discussion groups, industry conferences, each became a platform for dissecting his professional failures. Jake's attempts to fight back were futile. Every communication became additional evidence of his unprofessional conduct. His emails to potential legal representatives, his desperate attempts to explain his actions, each became another piece of documentation that would be used against him. By the end of the month, Jake Holloway was essentially unemployable in any serious design capacity. Design firms that had once courted him were now publicly distancing themselves. Conference speaking engagements were cancelled. Potential freelance opportunities evaporated. Elena's professional network began to comprehensively distance themselves. Real estate firms that had once viewed her as a rising star began formal reviews of her professional conduct. Client relationships she had cultivated for years started to disintegrate. What they saw as a passionate escape, I saw as a fundamental violation of professional and personal trust. Reputation is built over years and can be destroyed in moments. The ripple effects of betrayal are never contained. They spread like a virus, infecting every aspect of life with a ruthless, indiscriminate precision. Our social circle, a carefully curated network of corporate executives, real estate professionals, and social climbers, became the primary arena for the next phase of destruction. In high-stakes social ecosystems, reputation is currency, and I was about to demonstrate the full economic impact of betrayal. The first casualties were social. Charity galas, corporate fundraisers, exclusive networking events, the very platforms Elena and Jake had used to build their carefully constructed facades, became minefields of professional and personal humiliation. Strategic communications began to flow through our social network. Carefully worded emails, subtle conversations, meticulously crafted narratives that painted Jake and Elena not just as unfaithful partners, but as fundamental threats to professional integrity. Elena's social capital had been built on a delicate ecosystem of relationships. Her position as a high-end real estate broker relied on trust, on the ability to navigate complex social and professional networks. I began to systematically dismantle every connection she had carefully constructed. Invitations to exclusive events began to dry up. Social media connections became subtle battlegrounds. Friends who once celebrated her professional achievements now viewed her with a mixture of pity and professional disgust. Jake's social destruction followed an equally comprehensive path. The design community is small and interconnected. Professional conferences, industry events, collaborative platforms, each became a potential minefield of professional isolation. I involved our entire social ecosystem strategically. Corporate wives who had once been Elena's closest confidants now became silent architects of her social destruction. Design industry veterans who had mentored young professionals like Jake became vocal critics of his unprofessional conduct. The consequences extended beyond our immediate professional circle. Jake's family became collateral damage. His parents, proud of their son's seemingly successful career, now found themselves navigating a professional and social minefield. Extended family members, business connections, even childhood friends, all became unwitting participants in his comprehensive social and professional collapse. Elena's family faced similar comprehensive destruction. Her parents, who had celebrated her rise in the real estate world, now found themselves navigating a social landscape that had fundamentally shifted. Family gatherings became exercises in silent humiliation. Every conversation a potential minefield of unspoken judgment. Our children became unexpected witnesses to this systematic deconstruction. Our daughter, completing her MBA, and our son, working in tech consulting, understood the fundamental nature of professional integrity in a way Elena never had. The true nature of consequence is rarely understood until it has completely consumed everything in its path. As the legal and professional fallout intensified, the lives of everyone involved began to unravel in ways none of them could have anticipated. What began as a passionate affair had transformed into a comprehensive destruction that would echo through multiple lives for years to come. Jake's wife, Sophia, became an unexpected epicenter of the ongoing drama. A successful pediatric nurse with her own distinguished career, she found herself thrust into a public narrative she never chose. Their two young children, Emma, 7, and Liam, 5, became collateral damage in a war they could not possibly understand. I obtained detailed documentation of how the affair impacted their family. Sophia's professional colleagues began to look at her with a mixture of pity and professional curiosity. Hospital administration launched internal reviews, questioning how such a significant personal betrayal might impact professional judgment. The legal proceedings became increasingly complex. Jake faced multiple investigations. The intellectual property theft at Meridian Technologies was just the beginning. Additional design firms came forward, revealing a pattern of systematic plagiarism that extended far beyond our company. Sophia's response was particularly fascinating. Rather than becoming a victim, she transformed the narrative. She began speaking at professional conferences about workplace ethics, about the importance of professional integrity. Her story became a powerful narrative of resilience and professional transformation. Her first speaking engagement came 6 months after the initial revelation. Standing before a conference of healthcare professionals, she delivered a speech that became viral within professional networks. Betrayal, she said, is not the end of a story. It's a challenging chapter that defines who we truly are. The children became another arena of profound impact. Emma, only 7, began experiencing social challenges at school. Children can be cruel, and playground conversations became minefields of unspoken judgment and subtle cruelty. Psychological evaluations revealed the deep impact on the children. Emma developed anxiety, struggling to understand why her father's professional reputation had been so comprehensively destroyed. Liam, too young to fully comprehend, nonetheless felt the subtle tensions that now defined their family dynamics. Elena's family became another arena of comprehensive destruction. Her parents, who had once celebrated her professional achievements, now navigated a landscape of professional and social humiliation. Family gatherings became exercises in carefully managed conversations, each interaction a potential minefield of unspoken judgment. The state licensing board's investigation into Elena's real estate practices became increasingly detailed. Every transaction, every client interaction was placed under microscopic examination. Her professional credentials hung in a delicate balance. What emerged was not just a story of personal betrayal, but a comprehensive case study of professional and personal self-destruction. Each party found themselves facing consequences far beyond their initial comprehension. Sophia's transformation was perhaps the most remarkable outcome. She completed additional professional certifications, became a leading voice in healthcare, ethics, and rebuilt her family's narrative from a position of strength. Her children would ultimately understand that their father's actions did not define their potential. Emma would later become a successful corporate ethics consultant. Liam would pursue a career in law, specializing in professional conduct and corporate integrity. The final act of destruction is rarely loud. It's a quiet, methodical dismantling that leaves nothing but fragments. Our divorce proceedings became a masterclass in legal precision. I had spent years meticulously documenting every aspect of our marriage, every financial transaction, every shared asset. Elena would soon learn that the carefully constructed life she thought she was escaping was actually an intricate trap I had been preparing for years. The legal team I assembled was nothing short of extraordinary. Each document, each piece of evidence was a precisely aimed arrow, designed to completely eviscerate Elena's potential future claims. Her affair wasn't just a personal betrayal, it was a comprehensive breach of our marital agreement, a fact I would leverage to its fullest extent. Meridian Technologies became the unexpected battleground. The company's bylaws, which Elena had never fully appreciated, included comprehensive clauses about professional conduct that would become her downfall. Her involvement with Jake wasn't just a personal indiscretion, it was a professional liability that would cost her everything. The financial settlement became my most precise instrument of destruction. Years of careful financial planning now became a weapon. Every investment, every shared asset was meticulously documented. Elena would soon discover that her dream of a comfortable escape was nothing more than a mirage. Our children became unexpected witnesses to this systematic deconstruction. Our daughter, Sarah, was completing her MBA. Our son, Michael, was working in tech consulting. They understood the fundamental nature of professional integrity in a way Elena never had. The first hearing was a masterpiece of legal precision. Our shared financial records became a comprehensive map of Elena's professional and personal betrayal. Every expense, every transaction became evidence of her comprehensive breach of our marital trust. I had ensured that the narrative extended far beyond our immediate circle. Industry publications began writing comprehensive analyses of workplace ethics, using Jake and Elena's story as a primary case study. The psychological evaluation became another precise instrument. Expert testimony revealed the comprehensive impact of their affair, not just on our marriage, but on the entire professional ecosystem they had infected. Elena's attempts to fight back became increasingly desperate. Each legal motion, each attempt to challenge the settlement, became additional evidence of her fundamental lack of integrity. The divorce decree became a comprehensive document of her professional and personal failure. Complete division of assets, minimal financial settlement, comprehensive clauses about professional conduct, restrictions on future business interactions. By the time the legal proceedings concluded, Elena had been comprehensively dismantled. Her real estate license was under permanent review. Her professional network had completely dissolved. Her social capital had been reduced to nothing. The true measure of a person isn't in their ability to destroy, but in their capacity to understand and grow. As the dust settled on the comprehensive destruction of Elena's life and career, I found myself in a place of unexpected reflection. The strategic takedown I had engineered was never about simple revenge. It was about something far more profound, a reckoning with the fundamental nature of trust, betrayal, and personal integrity. My children became my unexpected allies in this journey of understanding. Sarah, completing her MBA, saw the situation with a clinical precision that both surprised and impressed me. "Dad," she said during one of our long conversations, "what you did wasn't just about punishment. It was about creating a comprehensive consequence for a fundamental breach of trust." Michael, working in tech consulting, understood the professional implications even more deeply. He had watched how a single series of choices could comprehensively destroy multiple lives, careers, and futures. The psychological journey was more complex than any legal proceeding. I discovered that true victory isn't about destroying another person, but about understanding the deeper mechanisms that lead to such profound betrayal. Therapy became an unexpected tool of self-discovery. Professional counseling helped me unpack the layers of our failed marriage, the subtle dynamics that had led to Elena's affair, the professional and personal disconnections that had created space for such a comprehensive betrayal. I learned that relationships, both personal and professional, are ecosystems. They require constant nurturing, communication, and genuine understanding. Elena's affair wasn't just a moment of passion. It was a symptom of deeper disconnections that I had failed to recognize or address. The most profound revelation came from an unexpected source. Sophia, Jake's wife, had transformed her own narrative into a powerful story of personal growth and professional integrity. Her ability to turn a moment of profound betrayal into a platform for positive change became a powerful lesson. My professional life at Meridian Technologies underwent a significant transformation. The entire experience became a case study in corporate ethics, in understanding the delicate balance between professional success and personal integrity. I began speaking at conferences, not about revenge, but about the importance of maintaining professional and personal boundaries. My talks weren't about condemning Elena or Jake, but about understanding the complex human dynamics that lead to such profound breaches of trust. The financial settlement, the legal proceedings, the professional destruction, these were never about simple punishment. They were about creating a comprehensive consequence that would serve as a powerful lesson. My children became the true beneficiaries of this journey. They learned that integrity isn't about perfection, but about how you respond to imperfection. Sarah would go on to become a leading voice in corporate ethics. Michael would develop innovative technologies focused on workplace accountability. The most unexpected outcome was personal peace. The strategic takedown I had engineered wasn't driven by hatred or revenge, but by a deep understanding of professional and personal consequences. Elena's life became a cautionary tale, not through my direct action, but through the natural consequences of her choices. She would spend years rebuilding, understanding the profound impact of a single series of decisions. Jake's professional destruction became a powerful lesson for an entire industry. Design firms, professional associations, educational institutions, all used his case as a comprehensive example of the consequences of professional misconduct. I discovered that true power isn't about destruction, but about creating a narrative of accountability. Each strategic move was designed not to humiliate, but to ensure that the fundamental breach of trust was comprehensively understood. The greatest lesson was one of empathy, Understanding isn't about condoning actions, but about comprehending the complex human dynamics that lead to such profound betrayals. My relationship with my children deepened. They saw not a vengeful father, but a man who understood the complex ecosystem of professional and personal integrity. They learned that consequences are never about punishment, but about creating opportunities for genuine understanding and growth. As I reflected on the entire journey, I realized that the most profound victory wasn't in the legal proceedings or professional destruction. It was in the ability to transform a moment of profound betrayal into a powerful lesson of personal and professional integrity. The pieces had fallen exactly where they were meant to be. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.